Now let's get into some of the documents you may have to file for appeal. The very first type is called the cap request appeal, the collections appeals process. This type of appeal is a bit informal with the IRS. This occurs generally when you're under collections and they issued a bank levy or wage garnishment, and you talk to the IRS and the IRS collections department, they don't want to release it. What you do is almost like as if you're shopping at Walmart or Target and you have an issue with an employee, you want to say, let me talk to the manager. This involves the very same method. You tell the IRS agent, respectfully, I disagree with you. I want to have a manager's conference under a cap request appeals. The agent then is supposed to set up a manager hearing within 2 business days. But at the same time, you're supposed to fill out 9423 and you're going to list out the reasons why you disagree with the IRS agent. So whenever you do have the appeals conference with the manager says, all right, should they take your side or the agent side? And I bet they're going to take the agent side, but that's okay. The 9423 basically says that the manager conference, there was no resolution, and now you want to take this to the Office of Appeals. And generally, this is kind of fast forward because there's some time frame regarding bank levies or your next paycheck that the IRS wants to take a decision. So the IRS appeals agents, they come on board pretty fast to resolve this levy only. And they could override it. They could partially release some of the funds back to your bank account or remove the levy before your next paycheck. But this does not put a solution in place for the long run, and you still have to deal with collections for the full official resolution. Keep in mind, the full official resolution could be any of the programs I mentioned in Chapter A and Chapter B. A second type of appeal is a very official appeal. It's called the CDP hearing, also a collections due process hearing, and it's very limited how you can file for this type of hearing. However, the moment you file and make this request, it stops all collection action for this tax year. And when you can file it is when the IRS sends you a certified mailing known as a Final Notice Before Levy, or letter LT11 or letter 1058. You can also file for a CDP hearing whenever the IRS files a federal tax lien against you. So in order to get things started, the 12153 form is the one you have to submit back to the IRS, whoever issued out the certified mail or whatever agent or department issued out the federal tax liens. Procedure-wise, whenever you do submit this 12153, you're supposed to submit a copy of either the certified mail of the IRS or the federal tax lien. And if you're under collections, make sure you submit it either back to the field revenue officer if there's an agent assigned or regular ACS, but also call them to notify that you have filed for a CDP hearing. What this does is they kind of code in the system to await that, and that way collections could stop against you. Procedure-wise, months down the road, an appeals officer gets assigned to the case and they want to hear what proposed resolution do you have in place. And the appeals officer works for the Independent Office of Appeals, and they are able to override any decision by the IRS. They could also put the solution in place for you. So they could put installment agreements, partial pay installment plans, non-collectible status, offers in compromise, innocent spouse. However, for offer in compromise, you will submit them the packet and they go ahead and forward it off to the innocent spouse relief department. You got 30 days from the letter regarding the rejected offer in compromise. And what you do is you fill out form 13711 with back to the IRS agent that rejected your offer in compromise, and you bullet point each of the specific points that you disagree with and your own calculation as far as why they should consider your appeals. And having an IRS offer in compromise rejected might be tough because you went through the whole procedure and now the IRS just rejected your offer. What you could do when you disagree, you could bullet point your disagreements on form 13711. You may have to submit additional proof and information along with your appeals request. The agent, upon getting this form, they could do two things. They could either keep it and make a decision, basically accepting the offer in compromise, or go ahead and forward that to the Office of Appeals, where it goes to the same procedure. Office of Appeals, agent gets assigned, they review your information and any new information you do supply, and they could override the decision made by the IRS. Now, there are other times where you make a request for penalty abatement, penalty forgiveness, or any other matter. If the IRS sends a letter saying, hey, we're rejecting your proposal, there might not be an actual form that you fill out. Instead, you type up a letter with certain keyframes saying that you disagree with the office, you want the Office of Appeals to review, and you provide a statement saying that everything that you're providing is true, basically under penalties of perjury, and the IRS, they get to review whatever you do submit, and they do forward that to the Office of Appeals and see if they could override the decision that they made against you. So the strategy regarding the strike back method is actually laid out in the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. And the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, basically you're afforded a fair and just tax system and also a forum to be heard whenever you have a disagreement with the IRS. Getting your proposals and requests rejected by the IRS is actually common practice. IRS agents and government officials, they really don't care about you. They want to sometimes just do enough in their job just so they don't get fired. So sometimes if it requires too much work, they rather just stamp out the rejection and just say, hey, hopefully they don't continue fighting on. So the strike back method offers you a second opportunity within one. Almost two birds with one stone to get your situation resolved.